Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's February 19th, 2023, and we are in the Old Testament. We are in the book of Genesis. We're going to read chapter 45 today. Okay. We're reading about the story of Joseph and his brothers and his father, Pharaoh, big famine going on in Egypt. Joseph has been placed over everything by Pharaoh. Essentially, he's second in command to Pharaoh because of his ability to interpret dreams and give wise counsel. He told him that, hey, you know what, there's a famine coming. So we've got 7 years to prepare for it, and then we'll survive these 7 years. We'll put all this food. So he is in charge of distributing the food. His brothers who sold him into slavery show up, and they need to buy some food. They don't recognize him, but Joseph recognizes them, puts them through some tests, has them go bring his brother Benjamin back. He still doesn't identify himself to them. He's testing them a little more to see what has happened. And we just saw Judah say, hey, you know what? We've already lost one brother, and I already promised his dad that nothing's going to happen to Benjamin. So let him go home, and you punish me. I'm the one you need to punish. So quite a bit of a change from the Judah who sold Joseph into slavery. So we see that change in him. We see Reuben, the older brother. He was still he's the one that came up with the plan to sell Joseph into slavery, and well, you know what, I'll guarantee Benjamin, but you can kill my kids. So he's not taking responsibility. So it was Judah that steps up. And that's important as we continue on with our story, that we start to see Judah becoming more and more important. And we see Benjamin and Joseph start to lessen their importance. But right now, Joseph is getting ready to reveal himself to his brothers, and his brothers are shocked, and his brothers' first thoughts are, oh, we're in trouble. But Joseph calms him down, and he gives them a really neat speech. And I said, when we started reading the Old Testament, as a Christian, why do I need to read the Old Testament? Because it doesn't really apply to me. Well, this is a good reason why we read the Old Testament, because we find out about God, we find out what the relationship is that we want to have with him and he wants to have with us. And we see in here, we get talks about a remnant. God's people are going to survive. Even when we had the flood of Noah, even when we had Sodom and Gomorrah, even during this time of famine, God's people are going to survive. There might have to be some punishment. They might have to be dealt with a little bit harshly to learn some lessons, but God is going to bring his remnant through. There's always going to be us. God uses the good for evil. We're going to see that in here. He was sold into slavery by his brothers. That was a pretty evil act on his brother's part. God didn't cause the brothers to do that. That was their own evil intentions. But you know what? God all along needed to have Joseph in this place so that he could take care of his relatives and provide them the food and bring them into the shelter of Egypt. Why are they going to go shelter in Egypt? Well, again, there's a famine going on and they don't have enough food. Before we started this story, we heard about how all the countries were starting to realize, Joseph's people are Jacob and Joseph's people are starting to get really powerful. We might have to do something about them before they become a problem. So they were starting to become the minority, and people were getting ready to pounce on them. So now we're going to bring them into Egypt, where they're going to be a little bit more secure. They're not going to have to worry about outside attacks, but now it's the inside attacks as they start to build their nation, and they start to come together as a nation. They're moving from a family to a nation, and we're going to start to see that in here. Forgiveness, we saw restoration, we saw trusting in the Lord. We're going to see in here. So this is a really good chapter to show us all kinds of things that we need to learn from our Old Testament. How to relate to God. What does he expect from us? So let's go ahead and we're going to read Genesis chapter 45. Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried out, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Does my father still live?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, "Please come near to me." So they came near. Then he said, "I am Joseph your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But now do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there will still be 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. And God sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you who sent me here, but God, and he has made me father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father, and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near to me, you and your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. There I will provide for you, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty, for there are still 5 years of famine. And behold, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. So you shall tell my father of all the glory in Egypt, and of all that you have seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brothers and wept over them, and after that his brothers talked with him. Now the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. So it pleased Pharaoh and his servants well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Say to your brothers, Do this, load your animals and depart, go to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded, do this. Take carts out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives. Bring your father and come. Also do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. Then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them carts, according to the command of Pharaoh. And he gave them provisions for the journey. He gave all of them to each man changes of garments, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. And he said to his father these things, 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and food for his father for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said to them, See that you do not become troublesome along the way. Then they went up out of Egypt, and came to the land of Canaan and Jacob their father, and they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart stood still, because he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. Then Israel said, It is enough. Joseph my son is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. May God bless the reading of his word. May God bless you. Bye.